Can you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself?
Sure. My name is Steve Brand, and I've been a therapist right here in historic Roswell for 25 years. I was educated at Boston University. I have a double master's. I started my practice in Cambridge, just about a mile down from Harvard. And I moved here in '98 and started my practice here then. And I love what I do.
Awesome, thank you. To start us off with the questions, the first one is, how do you establish boundaries with a narcissistic family, and what is the best way to start the conversation about boundaries with them?
Boundaries are about saying no, but with a narcissist or a narcissistic family, they're going to keep pushing on your boundaries when you start saying no. Now, there are all kinds of nice ways to say no, like, no, thank you, I'm not comfortable with that, not today, not this week, oh, this isn't a good month for me, rather than just all caps, NO.
Okay, so thank you for answering that question. The second one is, how do you prioritize healing in such a busy world and with such a busy schedule?
For myself, I have to take care of me in order to take care of other people. So I'm really big on investing in myself, not narcissistically and not selfishly. But if I'm going to help other people, I need to make sure that my tank is full. And so I do a lot of outdoor activities. Nature is my therapy. So I do a lot of hiking, cycling, backpacking, kayaking, those kind of things. And I have a home in the mountains, so I go to the mountains and sit on my porch and just listen to the birds and lay in my hammock. And, you know, that enables me to give, because doing this kind of work does take a lot out of you emotionally.
Gotcha. So for young adults, what is a way that you can suggest them to prioritize their healing?
I think they need to understand it's a pacing thing, and it takes time, and it's not a one and done therapy appointment, that if they have any serious trauma, that it would take a while for them to work through that. If they came every week, it would take several months with homework. Now, what I do that's different than a lot of therapists is I provide homework, because I don't look at myself as like Yoda or some guru or Jesus or God that I'm gonna change your life in 50 minutes. But if I can get you reading, listening to an audiobook, doing homework during the week, you're going to get so much more out of this 50 minutes. And I would be able to make so much more of an impact in that 50 minutes. So if I can get people kind of marinating on things and learning things and reading or listening to a book, and then when the book slaps you upside the head, you put the book down and you journal, and you capture those moments, you get those epiphanies and breakthroughs that way, and not just in here in the 50 minutes.
Gotcha. So I guess that leads me to my third question is, what are other ways to cope or deal with your emotions other than meditating and journaling?
I think exercise is huge. We're in a very sedentary society in the computer digital age, and even with AI coming, it's going to be even worse. And I think if you think about people 200 years ago, they would have to plow the back 40 or chop firewood or drag a deer back to the cabin. And none of that's happening naturally for most people. So we go to the gym, we go running, we go biking, we climb mountains, we hike, we do all kinds of things. And 1 hour of aerobic exercise gives you 7 hours of endorphins. And those endorphins are like a brain bath. So physical exercise is really important to mental health. Also light. Light is really important, like getting some vitamin D, getting some sunshine, especially in the winter for some people that have seasonal affective disorder. Light is super important. Diet is important, but exercise is probably the best way for people to kind of balance out their brain chemistry.
Okay, that's good to know. So with people that live in areas like Sweden or in the Nordic countries where they have certain hours of daylight and certain hours of sunlight, and in the winter they have more hours of darkness, what would you recommend? Maybe like taking vitamin D or?
Well, that's a great question. In those upper parts of the world, there is a lot of depression and alcoholism and suicide because people don't have a good brain chemistry from the lack of light. So there are light technologies that give you the full wavelength of light.
Okay.
And I have a lot of clients that I suggest that they buy those and they own those, and I have one myself. And when I start my coffee in the morning, I push that light and I get a shockingly bright light with the wavelength that our brain needs, winter, summer, spring, fall, whatever season it is. So light actually stimulates healthy brain chemistry. So in those northern latitudes, it's really important that people get a substitute light for the light that they're not getting from the sun. And then exercise, because in those areas people do a lot of winter exercise, a lot of skiing, cross-country skiing, ice skating, tobogganing, snowmobiling, driving the reindeer from one place to another, you know. So I think exercise and light are really important.
Really important. Awesome. So the fourth question is, how do you release yourself from guilt and shame when choosing yourself?
I teach people every day how often they feel guilty when they've done nothing wrong. That's false guilt. So I teach people to label false guilt as false guilt and to not go around feeling guilty all the time. We've got a conscience that tweaks when we do something wrong, and when we do something wrong, we are designed, created to feel guilty so that we make a change. But if someone is feeling guilty all the time, they're under some constant condemnation, or they've got a black cloud that follows them around. That's not how we're supposed to live. So I teach people to call false guilt what it is and to get out from under the black cloud of guilt and shame. And the difference between guilt and shame is important. Guilt is, I did something bad, and then you can decide, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that again, and move on. But shame is, I'm bad. And a lot of people really get stuck in shame, feeling like they're bad. What's wrong with me? What's my problem? And that's not healthy.
Gotcha. So if you could give us one nugget, because I understand that it's a therapy session and that's part of your business, but if you can give us one nugget or one tip with releasing yourself from feeling that or identifying the false guilt, what would you give, or what would you say?
I would say it's about self-forgiveness.
Okay.
Because sometimes we hold ourselves hostage in a state of condemnation, and we just need to let it go. We need to forgive ourselves. Just like we can forgive others for what they've done to us, we can also forgive ourselves for the mistakes we make, because I don't agree with everything I do every day. And so I'm not gonna deny the existence of the fact that we all do things that are against our conscience or against our essence, and that we need to forgive ourselves on a regular basis and live in that space.
Okay, thank you. So that leads me to ask, how do you build trust in yourself? Because I feel like forgiving yourself and just doing things for yourself is harder than doing it for other people for some reason. At least that's my own personal experience.
Yeah, I think self-trust is built. It's like a muscle that grows over time. I think a lot of people deny a lot of their intuition. There's a thing called HSP. Some people are highly sensitive people, and they get a read, they get a vibe. They can pick up a vibe whether a person's a good person or a bad person, but they kind of deny it. They don't trust that vibe, and they go ahead and they get involved with somebody that's going to hurt them. So I teach people to really listen to their soul, to their self, to their essence, and for women in particular, to listen to PMS, to listen to postpartum depression, to listen to menopause, because there is a combination between brain chemistry and hormones for women in particular that is a really sensitive place where women often can discount those times in their life rather than listen and say, what is yelling, what is screaming at me during those times.
Okay. So as a woman, I understand that sometimes when I am on my cycle, my emotions will be like on a 10 when the situation is like a 1.
Yeah.
So do you teach like to distinguish the two as well? Because I wouldn't want to, jump out my car and like knock someone out because they cut me off, when the situation doesn't call for that. Yeah. So do you also teach that as well?
Sure, sure. Because I'm aware too that I can have an exaggerated response driving here today. I had a couple people pull in front of me and not get out of the way, not get on the gas and get moving, and you can stay frustrated in an urban environment where there's traffic and gnarly drivers, and just have to let that stuff go and not linger in that space,
Gotcha. So do you believe that faith plays a role in mental health?
Absolutely. Now, we all have an object of our faith. Like, we put our faith in something. Some people look at their checking account or their bank balance and they freak out because that's their security, is how much money they have. Some people put their faith in a partner, a spouse. And then when things go bad, the rug is pulled out from under them. So I try to find out, okay, what is somebody's foundation, their basis of faith? What's the object of their faith? If it's Buddhism or Christianity, if it's Jesus or Allah or whatever, I will leverage their faith for their healing, because my job is not to convert people. My job is to help people to see their strength, and I see their faith as a source of strength, and to leverage that strength to help them get better, to help them heal.
So for people that don't believe in any religion, you would just look at whatever they find in, like, whatever their foundation is that they get it from.
Or help them look at it, actually, and help them see that maybe their ladder could be leaning against the wrong wall. If they're with an abusive spouse or an abusive boyfriend and they're giving up their very self to try to stay in a relationship that's unhealthy for them, I try to help them see that their ladder's against the wrong wall, and they need to reevaluate that, and that they're getting just pummeled and destroyed and beaten up in a bad relationship.